Welcome to the Trust Factor Podcast, the only podcast that guarantees your success when you implement its divine age-old teachings. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, back to work. But we're going to start it off properly. We're going to go into this week eyes wide open. We're making it new, fresh, and exciting because we have that ability. It's in our hands to be able to change it up, to not just go into another Monday thinking, it's Monday, here we go again. No. It's Monday. That means a new week. That means an opportunity, going back to the office, going back to work, going back to school, interacting with people with this newfound approach to life, which is that God runs the world and everything is perfect. And if everything is perfect, then all I need to do is just be grateful all day long. It doesn't matter if I know what's happening is good or if it seems bad to me. At the end of the day, it's all good. It's only seemingly bad, remember, because we don't know what's happening in the background. One of my listeners posted yesterday, I think on YouTube. Yeah, it was Noah, who was one of the winners of the early winners of the book, who was concerned with the back half of our podcast. I think it was on Sunday or on Friday. I can't remember, but the principle was the same. That being that I have to be just as happy when, God forbid, tragedy happens to me as I am when I win the lottery. It doesn't make sense. It's hard for people to compute. I understand them. I get it. It was also difficult for me to swallow that pill when I first learned that concept. But yeah, it's true. Even when somebody leaves this world, a loved one leaves this world, what do you think? You think we're going to be here forever? We know it's a temporary world, but we're not reminded. We're not reminded daily that it's a temporary world. That's why they say if you have a choice to go to either a wedding or a funeral, where do you go? Most people would say we go to a wedding. It's a very, very big mitzvah to be able to make the bride and groom happy. There's almost nothing like it. People come from all over the world just to make a bride and groom happy. It's a massive, massive opportunity to earn such tremendous reward and to start this young couple off on the right foot. But the answer is not that. The answer is if you have a choice to go to a wedding or a funeral, you go to the funeral. Do you know why? Because you don't get the opportunity daily to remind you that this life is temporary. And to know that you too are going to be there one day and all of your loved ones are going to be there one day. This world is a temporary world. The faster we figure that out, the happier we're going to be because you will spend your time, number one, doing the things that you need to do. But number two, you'll have the perspective that we're often missing, which is remember, we've all got an expiry date. So we're just here temporarily. That makes life so much easier to understand that there is a next world. That this world is a world designed to build our next world and that we're all going to the next world. So it eases the pain. It doesn't take it away. There's always going to be the pain of suffering, of loss, because it's personal. We're not really upset because the individual has gone to the next world. Not for that individual, at least. When we're upset if somebody passing, it's because we're going to miss them. It's for selfish reasons. If we knew that they were going to a world of truth, a world of purity, a world of good, where we were not too long ago and we didn't want to leave, then we understand that the only sad part of loss is that we get to miss that person until we reunite with them. But generally speaking, everything is perfect and it's all good. We just don't have eyes to see the good. That's all. Now, real quick, I did a draw yesterday. I've got a new winner, our first winner for the Garden of Emuna book. I've reached out to that winner. I'm going to send out the copy to them. In the meantime, another draw next week for the same book that we're going through. Click, like, share, do something, and get it out there. Now, we're into chapter 5, which is the second level of emuna. Remember, we said there are 3 levels, basic, intermediate, and advanced. And even within those levels, there are certain levels. So up until now, we've given you an introduction to this concept of faith and relationship with your Creator. We talked about chapter 4 being the basic level of emuna. That is what? That we know that God's involved in our life. Number 1, we know He exists. Number 2, we know He's involved intimately in our life. That's enough. But there are varying degrees even within that basic level, meaning there are people who understand that God is with us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He is with us in a relationship. And there are others who believe that there's always a but. Right? God exists, but God runs the world, but God created the world, but there's always a but for those people. There's something in between them and their Creator. There's a wall that they need to work at tearing down. Some people, that wall is lower. For other people, that wall is very high and almost unscalable. But nonetheless, they know that there is a God, or they think that there is a God who runs this world. That's emuna Part 1. Part 2, intermediate, second level, is that it's all for the best. Everything that happens in this life is all for our best. Even though the situation appears to be totally negative and undesirable, just like I said a minute ago. Many of these cases where we see how seemingly bad situations are, but they're actually for the ultimate good. We have scores of experiences, all of us in our own lives. If you're being honest with yourselves and you look back, because now you've got 20/20, hindsight, right? You can look back and see what happened in your life. If you're being really honest with yourselves, you know that everything is worked out. And I'll take you back to childhood when you were dating your first love and you thought that you were going to spend the rest of your life with him or her. And you were sure that that was going to be the case. And when you broke up with them, it was devastating and it tore you to shreds. And now you look at where you are in your relationships and you recognize nothing could have been more perfect than you marrying the person that you actually married. At the time, you didn't see it. It was tragic. You thought you had a broken heart. It was terrible. It was the worst thing that could have ever happened to you. But in hindsight, you always come out on top. He's about to share a story that we've all heard before, an example, which will resonate with you. He says, for example, somebody's in a tremendous rush to get to work or to school on time. They sprint to the bus stop just as the bus is pulling away from the curb, shouting at the bus driver to stop and let them on board, and the driver ignores them. We've all been there. The early days when we were going to school, we were taking the bus. Maybe you're still taking the bus. And you're running to the bus stop because you're late for work and your boss told you if you come late one more time, it's over, my friend. You're done. And you've missed the bus on that day. Even though you got up on time, something happened, maybe the bus came early, you missed the bus and you're cursing out this bus driver for the rest of the day until you hear the news. Let's keep reading. In the above situation, the person trying to wave down the bus has difficulty in lovingly accepting what is happening to him. Adding to the frustration of the fact that he's late is the insult that he feels from this driver who didn't even look at him. You know, this driver who just looks straight, no interest in looking at you, just drives away. And you know that he heard you. His lack of regard drives you mad. But when he finds out later on, when he hears the news that the bus was, God forbid, involved in a fatal accident, the picture looks completely different. What's he doing now? He's tearfully thanking Hashem for saving him. And he's blessing that driver. Thank God that driver didn't stop. Thank God he didn't open the door, because I would have been, God forbid, on that bus and it would have been my last day on this planet. This bus driver just a minute ago wouldn't let you on. You were cursing him. And now he turns a corner, he's into an accident, and you're thinking, thank God that this driver didn't notice me and didn't even want to look at me. Now you see God's hand clearly. Why? Because it worked out in your favor. That's how we're programmed. Wait a second. A second ago I was miserable. Why? Because it went against me. The situation didn't play out the way I wanted it to play out. It worked exactly the opposite. How many times in our lives do we go through that? And we get so mad, frustrated, miserable at the fact that it didn't work out the way that we wanted to work out. The difference, my friends, is that we don't always have 20/20. We don't know what we're dealing with. We have a 30,000-foot view, and sometimes not even that. All we have is just our desire for this current situation to work out, that I should marry this individual, that this business should be successful, that my boss should like me, that I should get a raise, that all these different things should happen. That's what I want. And that's what I think is good. But when it doesn't happen, I get so upset that I have the potential to get depressed and anxious and bring on all these difficulties, all these emotional challenges that the world suffers from today, that everybody's medicated for. Everybody's on an anti-anxiety med. Everybody's on an antidepressant. Today, you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who doesn't have at least one therapist. Most people have two for different reasons. Bottom line, we're suffering in this society because people think that it needs to play out the way that they want it to play out. And when it plays out the opposite, they get upset until they find out that that business that they were supposed to invest their life savings into went belly up. It's bankrupt. Everybody involved in that investment lost their shirts. Suddenly, what happened? Suddenly, thank God? Why not thank God when he said, sorry, I'm not letting you in because I know what's happening? You're not always going to have eyes to see it. We don't. Sometimes he gives us insight. Sometimes he pulls back the curtain. Those are opportunities, rare opportunities for us to say, wow, look at how I was saved. Look at how much he loves me. Thank God. That's the opportunity to say, thank God. And we get them. We get them many times throughout our lives. The key is to be dialed in, tuned in, so that you're not dealing with static, so the message is coming through loud and clear. And then you don't have to wait for that fallout. That you know as soon as something happens that goes against your will, with your limited knowledge of what happens in this world, that you are accepting it with complete and utter love. When you get to that point, like I said yesterday, you are bulletproof. Nothing touches you. You're always happy. Now, I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. But it's not once or twice that somebody says to me in the midst of chaos, whatever that chaos is, there's not a lack of chaos that can happen, that they look at me and say, how are you so calm? How are you so collected? And my answer is not a drawn-out answer. It's a very simple one. I point up and I say, there's a boss that runs the world and everything is perfect. Now, that's a muscle. You have to work on it. You don't wake up one day and recognize that. And you may have to fake it until you make it. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you're doing it for the right reason. Accept the fact that everything is perfect and couldn't be better than what it is, even though you don't know why it's perfect in every situation, but especially the negative ones. When you don't get what you want, look up to the heavens and say thank you. It's a game changer. When you can look up and from the depth of your heart with complete honesty and sincerity, look up to your Creator and say thank you. When something happened that you would otherwise define as negative, then you are on the track to successes that you can't even begin to imagine. You will live a longer, healthier, more meaningful life, my friends. Just try it. That's the number one cause of stress, is thinking that things are going to go your way and they go the other way and you don't understand it to be good. You interpret it as bad and therefore you end up in a battle. Stay away from it, my friends. It's the evil inclination working overtime to bring you down. Now you have the tools, you have the information to be able to respond properly. Have an amazing day, my friend. Thank you for spending time with us on the Trust Factor podcast. If you've heard something today that moved you, save this episode and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss upcoming conversations that challenge, empower, and uplift. And if you're on social media, connect with us. Leave your thoughts. Drop a quote that resonated with you. Hashtag the Trust Factor podcast. Until next time, keep growing in your trust and keep living with purpose. I'm Jesse Revivo, and this has been the Trust Factor Podcast. Thanks for listening.